Okay, so I don't know when I'm going to be posting this video, but I've already recorded in this room once and explained it. But since I might post this before that video goes live, I just figured I'd tell you I'm in a new area just for getting ready when I'm doing my makeup or when I'm doing videos of me getting ready in the morning, because I started to wake up early before the kids so that I could get my makeup done and ready and be all ready for the day before the kids wake up. And it's just been a little bit easier for our family and, having kids and trying to get ready in the morning. So it is right now like a little before 5 o'clock, and the kids' room is right behind this wall. So if I'm talking kind of subdued, that's why. But yeah, it's going to be a different look for the next couple months at least until we move to the new house with this wall. If I'm ever doing a first impressions, or if you ever see my Instagram videos with me getting ready, unless they're really old, it's going to be with this background because I'm in the guest bedroom getting ready before anyone's awake. Okay, so now moving on to what this video is all about. We're going to talk about the new Midas Cosmetics palette and how stupid I was. I feel, okay, this is totally my fault. So anything I say is not about the palette or the brand, because the brand created this palette. It was their brainchild. They wanted it to look a certain way, and I have no problems with how it turned out and how it looked. This is for me personally, with my personal convictions and just me being a mom. I can't believe I bought this. And this is one of the times I wish I didn't have a YouTube channel and that this mistake could just be swept under the rug and no one would know about it. And it would just be like a silly thing that I did and couldn't believe I did, but I just get rid of the palette and move on with my life. But since I am a content creator and I shared with you guys that I bought this palette and you guys were really excited to see a first impression, I get to share with you how stupid I can be sometimes. So I've talked about Midas Cosmetics here on my channel. I did a first impression on this video. I'm currently testing this and I'll have a review at the end of the month. And it's the Dulce Vida. I'll leave that video linked up here. But I'm currently testing this. I love it so much. I was super excited when I heard that they were coming out with a new palette, especially when I saw the inside. And I saw all those greens and grungy colors. I was like, yes, 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 I want that palette. I bought it the moment it released, and I was so happy to see that it was coming on my way. I get it in the mail and I go to open it, and it says High Times. And it's a lady holding, I'm assuming, a joint, and she didn't have any clothes on. But she was kind of trying to pull an Eve because she was using leaves to cover the important parts of her chest region. And it kind of startled me because I was like, oh my goodness, that's a naked lady on there. Let me put this out of the way while my kids are awake. So yeah, it says High Times, a lady with a cigarette, something like that. Inside are all weed references. And I was like, oh my gosh. I didn't buy the Milk Cosmetics, what was it called? Smoke Sessions palette, because I didn't like the weed references. I should have looked closer. And also High Times, like High Times, Katie, come on. I think when I saw it, I thought it was High Tides. And I was just like, oh, High Tides, cute, this is fun. I just was looking at the colors. I do this all the time. I was just looking at the colors and I bought it. So when I got it and saw that it was a naked lady on the front, I was like, ooh, okay, what do I do? I went back and forth for a while, like, oh my gosh, I told everyone I was getting this, doing a first impressions, but I don't want to have a naked lady hanging around my house. Went back and forth, and finally I was like, okay, I've done this before with the Balms products, because I bought one of the Balms products when I was like a teenager, and she had like a, I don't know, bikini or something on, and I gave her clothes. So I was like, I'm going to give her clothes. And I don't know if you can see, but there you go. I drew a shirt on her. And that, you can laugh if you want. I totally get it. I feel like a prude right now, but this makes me comfortable having this in my house with my children around, with my husband around, not having a naked lady with leaves covering her chest. So I gave her some clothes. I covered it. I feel a little bit better. And I also made whatever she's holding in her hand a little bit longer, and I was like, that kind of looks like a makeup brush, right? High Times, you're having fun doing your makeup. That's what I do with myself for this palette. I asked on Instagram and I was like, hey, do you still want to see a first impressions on this palette? I kind of G-rated it for myself, and a lot of people replied back and said, yes, we still want to see it. A lot of people were like, hey, it doesn't bother me that you don't like the artwork. I just want to know if the eyeshadow is good. So I was like, okay, I can do that. I will just review this palette for the eyeshadow quality. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to do an official review, because I don't know. I haven't decided yet. So I want you guys to help me after you watch this video. Let me know if you'd like to see a full in-depth review or if this first impressions is all you need. Because I'm definitely doing the first impressions today, but I haven't decided if I'm going to pull it out and use it for like 5-6 days. Long intro. Yeah, that is why she now has clothes on. So if you're looking at this and like, wait, what the heck did she do to her palette? I put a shirt on her. So anyway, with that out of the way, let's just zoom on in and get started with this very long-winded video of my first impression thoughts on Midas Cosmetics' new High Times palette. All right, so I scooted in a little bit. As you can see, I already have my foundation and I did a little bit of contour. The first video that I filmed in here, like I said, I don't know if it's live or not. I'll link it up here if it is. But I started with a bare face like 5 minutes after I woke up and I looked kind of rough. Like, you know, the swollen eyes, groggy voice. So when I came in this morning, I was like, let me just do my foundation just so I can wake up and just not look and sound so bleary-eyed and swollen. So that's what I did this morning, and hopefully I don't look so rough. But anyway, I'm just putting a little bit more concealer because it kind of creased. Concealer is a ColourPop concealer. I feel like I'm not a fan of the ColourPop concealer, but I'm still giving it a try. And then I'm testing out this Catrice eye foundation for my primer. Okay, so while that is having a minute to dry, here's a little more up close look at the palette. Also on this palette, the Dulce Vida, when I did my first impressions, I pointed out that there is no brand name on here. And she actually reached out to me on Twitter, the owner, and said, you know, that was an oversight on her part. She missed it. That was a mistake. So with this new palette, you do now have Midas Cosmetics logo. And then also on the back of the palette, they have a sticker, which I think is fantastic. I love that. It has all the information that this one had, but it was on like the outer sleeve. So I love that she put it on the palette. But yeah, anyway, it has the ingredient list on the back. It's cruelty-free, 24-month shelf life. It's recyclable. So anyway, let's just go ahead and dive in and let me figure out, what do I want to do? I don't even know. I know I want to use the greens. Are you shocked? But let's go ahead. I really like this poopy brown. I know it's probably going to be kind of boring, but I think I'm going to do this first, and then I'm going to go in with this shade next. All right, so there we go. That went on really nicely. It stuck a little bit right here, but I think that's this concealer. It's a bit more wet than I'm used to with the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define. And sometimes I go in too quickly before it's had time to dry, because this side looks fine. Moving on to that orange in the top row. I feel like that first shade really made the orange a more grungy instead of a bright orange. And I kind of like it. And that spot right there is still sticking. It's just that concealer. I'm trying to give it a chance, but I just like the effortlessness of my Makeup Revolution one. I never have this problem. But anyway, I'm just going back in with that first shade. One thing I will say is I feel like that first shade, maybe it's just me, but I feel like it looks a lot more mustardy yellow, whereas on the eye, it's more of a grungy brown. I don't really see that mustard type of tone coming through. Is that just me? What do you guys think? Not really two tones that go together, but someone left a comment on, I think it was one of my YouTube videos, saying like, how do you come up with the color combinations and stuff? And like, you know, you're so creative putting stuff together. And I'm like, I seriously just go to the palette and try to just put colors together that I kind of want to use and think will look good. Because in my head, like if you put all the colors in a palette, to a certain extent, they should all work in harmony together. So it's kind of my attitude with it. And some days it works well, and other days it's a little questionable. All right, I put you in a touch closer just because I was having to kind of sit up too much and it's hurting my legs. Anyway, let's keep going. I want to use the green, this one right here. I'm going to use that on my outer corner. I don't even know what I want to do with my lid. I like that bright green in there. But I feel like this look would look pretty good with one of those browns on the lid. It's so weird doing my eyes after I've done my foundation because like I feel like I have to be so careful around here. Usually I don't because I just clean it up with a makeup remover wipe before I put on the rest of my foundation, but now I'm like, oh dear. I am seeing kick up in the pan when I go in, just so you know. It's nothing crazy like subculture kind of kick up, but it's definitely a little bit, a somewhat significant amount. There's that. Okay, so that's what we're looking like. I think you guys can see it. I like it. I feel like it's a little patchy. Once again, it might be that patchiness that you can only see under these lights and in pictures kind of patchiness. Because like I look at it in person and I don't really see any areas that it's sticking. It looks like an even distribution of the color, but I still feel like it's a little patchy. I don't know. Let's see if this side does it. Yeah, I feel like it's sticking or just doing something funky right there. Kind of like where my tacky lid was and then where the rest of the color, like going on top of another color, is not really wanting to go on smoothly, which is something I noticed with their other palette. When I would layer a shade on top of another shade, it almost changed it a bit. Not a drastic color, but just the tone of that color changed a bit. Okay, there's what we're looking like. I didn't mention brushes. That first shade, the grungy brown, I used the Smashbox shadow blending brush. Then for this little pinched brush, I use a Sigma E25 for that orange. And then this tiny brush for the outer side is the Stilazzi L210. I love how tiny this brush is. I think Annette was talking about wanting tiny brush recommendations. I don't know how small your eye is, but this is a pretty tiny brush and I love it for packing on shadow on my outer corner. So Annette, this would be a recommendation if you're still looking for tiny makeup brushes for your eyes. Okay, I just stabbed my brush in there a little bit more than I typically do, and it definitely kicked up a good bit. So this is a palette I would say to be more gentle with. Not saying that's a bad thing. It's not a con for me. I really don't care about kick up, but I feel like a lot of people like to know that. So when I remember, I like to point it out. Let me know if you like me to mention brushes. I forgot to ask that. Do you care what brushes I'm using? Because for some reason I always struggle to mention it in the video and then I don't want to run back up to my room or up to my makeup table and look at the brushes that I used when I'm editing the video. But let me know if it's something you would find helpful, then I don't mind doing it, but I don't want to take all that extra time if nobody cares, if that makes sense. Okay, we're going to go with that. And now I'm going to do a cut crease and kind of bring it out. Yeah, I'm going to bring it out kind of far and I want to put 2 of the shimmers on my lid. Okay, so here is where we are at. I feel like my concealer looks a little funky, but that's fine. Yeah, this is how I cut it. My camera stopped recording midway through cutting my crease, so I'm just going to take that part out. But now I want to put something on my eyes, and I have to decide what I want to use. Okay, I think I want to go and use this shade, obviously, because it's just screaming at me. But for my second shade, I don't know. I'm thinking about one of these, but I can't decide. I think I'm going to go with this one just because I feel like it'll tie into this one a bit more. I want to keep this on the inner portion, probably to here or so. And then I'm going to start the other shade just because I want it to have a pretty good blend into the taupe shade. Like that. I'm always really impressed with Midas Cosmetics shimmers. They aren't like super creamy and metallic-y type, as you can see, like it takes a bit of back and forth, but they still go on and look really intense, especially if you wet them, if you want to wet them. I never bother. I feel like concealer does enough for me, but they don't transfer as much. Like the super silicone, or like Like the super creamy ones, I'm thinking of like Pure, Anastasia, Bad Habit, those like really creamy and they like intensely swatch on your finger. Those one always transfer like up to my brow bone by the end of the day. And these Midas ones, it's like minimal transfer even without glitter glue. That's what surprises me. Like I don't feel like I have to use it. It'll still transfer, but I don't feel like I have to use glitter glue because it still will hold up almost all day without transferring. But yeah, I think that's really pretty and I don't mind putting in a little more work of back and forth if it doesn't transfer because I hate transfer. Okay, now going into that taupe shade. Oh, here I go again. Didn't tell you what I used. If you want to know, for my concealer or like cutting it out, I use a concealer F70 brush. Not my favorite brush, but it's what I have in here. Let's see. Flat brush for the green was the Stilazzi S500, and then now I'm picking up a Stilazzi L221 brush for the taupe shade. That one went on really nicely. I didn't tell y'all, but I'm just going back in and going over that spot where they meet. I'm just trying to make that more blended. You know, I think I'm going to take this same brush that I did that taupe shade. I just want to grab a touch of this dark green and put that right after the taupe shade, kind of going on to the dark green. I've been kind of doing that a little bit with shimmers, going all the way to the outer corner, and I kind of like it. And minimal to like zero fallout. I have been tapping off my brush and being careful because my makeup is done, but maybe there's a little bit of the shimmer or like glitter from the shimmer. I see a little bit of sparkle here, but the dark shade didn't ruin it at least. So, okay, I like it. Now I'm gonna put something in my waterline and let's finish up the lower lash line. I'm gonna take this Smashbox Always On Gel Liner in Baller. It's like a green. I really need to sharpen it. So I think I'm just going to take that green that we use in the outer corner right against my lash line, and then I'll blend it out with, you know, I'm going to do a little bit of this on the inside part, and then I'll blend it out with two. Let's just try this one. I've been kind of giving it side eyes, second glances, so let's just use that one. Okay, now going into the outer shade, that like reddish peachy color, I'm just going to take it right underneath there. Okay, now going into that bright green. So pigmented, like it's going over the dark green and that reddish tone so easily. Yeah. Very, very nice. And I didn't tell you once again, brushes. I'll have them all linked down below for this video, but please let me know in future if this is something you'd like me to get better at sharing. Let's see, the little stamper for the darkest shade, it was a Sigma E15 brush, and then the reddish tone on the outer corner was a LUXIE 111 mini flat angled, and I just used a Smashbox Precise Smudger for this green. Love this little brush. Another one, Annette. This is a good brush. It's tiny. I love it. Okay, now inner corner. This is where I'm a little stumped because I feel like the best shade is that green that I have all over the lid, but I don't really want to wear that green. That taupe is too dark, and I also used it on the center, and then everything else is too dark. Let's see. This top color here, I'm going to see how bright. I don't know. We'll use that shade a teensy bit and see how it looks. I'm taking a Stilazzi S206 brush, another tiny one. I've been meaning to send Annette a list of tiny brushes because she'd asked in a video or on Instagram, I can't remember. And I was like, ooh, I love tiny brushes, mainly for my lower lash line and my inner corner because my eyes are so sensitive. They water easily if I get too much shadow in them. I feel like that's too dark. No, I'm not crazy about this. Okay, kind of erased it to the best of my ability. I know it's not erased, but I'm going to go into this Cover FX Perfector face palette. But yeah, I like that brightener shade. A little unblended, so I'm just going to take this Morphe M431 brush and just kind of try to blend the sides. So yeah, I like that. I tend to do that if a palette I'm using doesn't have a good inner corner highlight. I'll just use one of my highlighters. I feel like it works well. Okay, so there is where we are at. I'm going to pause, finish up the rest of my face, put on lashes and all that stuff, and then we'll round out this video. All right, so here we go. This is the completed look. Let me know what you guys think. I'll stick up close-ups like I usually do, and let me know what you think. I really like how it turned out. I love the mix of neutrals with the pops of color and whatnot, and I really like that green was really pretty. Just talking about the quality of the palette, I was really impressed with it. I kind of expected it to be great just because I've been using the Dulce Vida palette, but this is also a palette full of bright, so I was curious how they would do quality-wise with a bunch of neutrals, especially with grungy greens, because I feel like you can have issues with patchiness or muddiness, but I thought these blended out really nicely. I had that bit of issue with the dark green, but I feel like that's not uncommon with grungy dark greens, so let me know if you know of a palette that's never had any issues. But like I said, it was just a little bit in the outer corner. I can't really say anything besides this first impression. I feel like it ended up looking fine, but if you're someone who is picky and hates any kind of skipping or patchiness or having to work too hard to blend it out, keep that in mind. I didn't mention, but I'll put it on the screen over here, the price of this palette and how much I paid. I did use Smoky Glow's coupon code, and I was really happy with how the look turned out, and I love these grungy tones. So anyway, I think that's going to do it for this video. Like I said, I feel like really stupid the fact that I bought a palette that I didn't like the artwork and the names concept of the palette, but once again, that is my own fault. That is my own stupid self for not realizing that. So anyway, I've given her clothes now. I gave her a makeup brush. I feel a lot better about that, but let me know down below in the comments if you would like to see an in-depth review on this. I'm just not sure. I figured I could definitely do a first impressions and just kind of share with you guys because I did let you know I bought it and a first impressions was coming. So let me know, do you want me to officially review this next month? And if you do, then I can review it and give you a review at the end of May. But let me know if I don't hear much interest in it or if this first impressions was enough for you to decide if you wanted to buy it or not. I might just keep it and use it in my own time and keep it hidden at the back of my makeup collection to make sure my kids never get a hold of it. But let me know what you want. Let me know if you're at all interested in seeing more looks and an official review from me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts down below, and if you would like to see more about this palette, let me know what you think about this look, and let me know what you think about Midas Cosmetics. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to laugh with me down below at how silly I was to buy a palette without realizing what the palette was about or without realizing the artwork, you can laugh with me down below. That is totally okay. With all that said, I'm going to close this video out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon in my next video. Bye, guys.